This podcast is brought to you by Legend Comics and Coffee in Omaha, Nebraska, located in scenic downtown Benson. They got a new location. It's absolutely gorgeous. Check it out. And by listeners like you. Go to Patreon/Two-Headed Nerd. Become a patron. Support this show.
Once, they were two best friends managing a comic book store. But when an innocent blood oath went wrong, the two found themselves trapped in the same body, imprisoned in a strange pyramid made of long boxes, buried deep below their hometown, where they are doomed to discuss comic books until the end of time. They were once Joe and Matt. Now they are known as the Two-Headed Nerd. And this is their podcast.
Broadcasting from the ZIGGURAT at Omaha and caverns deep below the metro area, where we've converted the whole place to an Arctic refuge for some new black and white feathered friends. It's our pleasure to welcome you to episode 755 of the Two-Headed Nerd comic book podcast. I'm your head number one, the internet's Joe Patrick.
Yeah, we just let the water run and stuck the freezer coils in and everything froze like that Tom and Jerry cartoon, and we're just like skating around. It's super fun. This is great. And I'm your head number two. It's really bad for the collection, though. This is you know what? I didn't even think about shit. I'm your head number two. My name is Matt Baum. In this tuxedo-required episode, the Cosmic Short Box has tasked us with examining the life and times of Oswald Cobblepot in 4 different back issues, spanning golden to the modern age of comics.
After that, we'll set you up with our must-read picks for next week's new comics, but now it's time to put on your monocles, grab your cigarettes and fancy cigarette holders, and smoke them if you got them, nerds. It's Cosmic Short Box time in the Ziggurat.
The Penguin's on a lot of nerds' brains right now with a new hit show on HBO. If you haven't watched it, you should. It totally kicks ass. So we decided it's time to get to know Oswald Cobblepot. And where else do you start but in the Golden Age? And we'll travel up from there, but we're going to explore who is the Penguin, who was the Penguin, and who did the Penguin become. As always, we'll be rating these books with our buy it, skim it, or leave it ratings, but it's different when we're doing the Cosmic Short Box. This is more of an exercise into who is this character.
Look, spoiler alert, we gave them all buy-its, so whatever.
Don't give it away. You give it away up front every time, Joe.
Look, man, we picked 4 comics we purposefully wanted to discuss. We knew that going in that we were probably going to like.
Enough of this. Macho, set the stage, please.
Of course, Sir Matt. It was the golden age of comics. 1941 to be exact, and Batman was about to meet a new nemesis, one short in stature but perhaps his equal in intellect.
Let's start with the Penguin's first appearance. Now, we did not learn the Penguin's real name until 6 years later. They never said his name.
If you had told me that we didn't learn the Penguin's real name until Batman Returns came out, I would have believed you.
Yeah, pardon me, not 6 years later, 5 years later. In the newspaper comic strip, we learned his name, Oswald Cobblepot. We also learned that he has an aunt, Miranda Cobblepot, but she never appeared in the comics until much, much later. She showed up on Earth 1.
But they named her anyway.
Yeah. She showed up on Earth 1, because that's what you did in that damn book. So, anyway. This is Detective Comics, number 58 from DC, December 1941. It's written by Bill Finger, pencils and art by Bob Kane. They are your Penguin creators. Inks by Jerry Robinson and George Rousseau. Letters by George Rousseau. And cover by Fred Ray and Jerry Robinson. Ungraded. You can pick this one up in, I think like 9.6 was some of the nicest I've seen. And it was like 4,000. Graded, the highest graded I found was a 9.2. $6,000. That seems like kind of a deal for the first Penguin. $6,000?
Well, 9.2. Yeah, if we had found evidence of like a 9.8, I would have expected higher.
It's probably much higher. I mean,
but for it being a 9.2, I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah. So let's keep in mind, this is a 10-cent Golden Age comic, so it comes from a different time. Somebody updated the DC database to rightfully give Bill Finger the credits that he needs for this.
To give Bill the finger.
To give Bill's finger, whatever. Here's your setup. Gotham's newest master criminal, the Penguin, steals a valuable painting and fences it to the boss. You know, the boss, who then hires him to plan a crime
Bruce
spree.
Springsteen.
Yes, Bruce Springsteen, who then hires him to plan a crime spree that will sweep over Gotham. When Bruce Springsteen, the boss, tries to screw over the Penguin while splitting their loot, the Penguin shoots him anyway, with a gun. I don't know if he really kills him. In the comic, he's like, ah! You know?
I mean, what we know of the boss today, he's feeling fine.
Sure. But the Penguin shoots him with a gun concealed in his umbrella and takes over the gang. During a subsequent crime, the Penguin manages to gas Batman with another trick umbrella, leaving him woozy and half amnesiac. The Penguin takes this opportunity to frame Batman for stealing an expensive jade idol, which the Penguin is secretly the real owner. Oh, scoundrel! It's very complicated, but it's an effective plan, and the cops are like, yep, you're under arrest, Batman. You're obviously a thief. You do shit like this all the time. Right? The police arrest Batman, but as they're driving him away, the Penguin's men smash a car into the side of the police truck. They grab Batman, and they escape with him hostage. From there, he uses the telephone in his shoe to call Robin.
Yeah. I mean, bear in mind, this is sort of,
yeah, you know,
the idea of like in cowl comms is not really,
no, it is what it is, you know. So,
you know, even Dick Tracy's two-way wrist radio was kind of a new idea at the time.
Batman escapes. He exonerates himself by delivering the stolen goods to Commissioner Gordon. The cops break up Penguin's gang. The Penguin, however, scrambles aboard a passing express train and escapes. They have a full-on fist fight on the tracks. This is like, this Penguin can get in the ring with Batman and hold his own. Think about that.
That's something that I noticed about a couple of the comics we reviewed this week.
I disagree with you.
Because the Bronze Age Penguin engages in fisticuffs too, doesn't he?
I mean, not really. No. I mean, like,
maybe I was looking at a different book that we considered.
I think he slapped some people around and stuff like that. But there was a very short time, I believe, where the Penguin could maybe beat up Batman, right? Because that's just stupid.
Well, I mean, if you consider that the idea outside of those original Golden Age stories, the idea that Batman is scary,
right,
really didn't get established until Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil. So
fair.
Like I'd say Batman probably got his ass kicked on the regular.
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, this Batman definitely has some trouble for the sake of moving the plot along. We need this to happen for this to happen.
Certainly.
You know,
that's why he employs child soldiers.
Yeah. And it seems like these kids saved him quite often in the Golden Age.
Yup.
Like, it's a good thing Robin was around. Otherwise, Batman just tied to a chair and the Penguin murders him. So also, the Penguin, when we first see him in this book, the art's great, by the way, and he's fully formed.
The art is fantastic. Yeah,
he's got the black and white shoes on. He's wearing the tux with the tails, the top hat, the monocle. This is the Penguin, fully formed. Here you go. They really don't change him much, other than later he gets scarier teeth, I guess. But that's really about it.
I don't want to give an undue amount of credit to Bob Kane because I know that he was a shitheel that robbed glory from his.
I mean, sure, but
from his co-authors. But
I agree. But look, we're talking about the
if he really did draw this, Bob Kane is probably one of the better artists of the Golden Age because I've seen some Golden Age art that's just like woof.
Definitely, when we look at action comics like Superman stuff from this time, it's not as good. It just isn't. Yeah, right. No, you're right. Also, there's giant penguins in this book, and I cannot figure out if they are actually here or I think they're just trying to like make an artistic, I think that's more of a metaphorical giant penguin on that first page. Gotcha. Because they're around though later too, and I can't really tell. And I think it's just like, oh man, everybody kind of pictures this guy like a penguin. He's got a big nose and he wears a tux, whatever. Well, because that's just it, is that like he didn't call himself the Penguin. He was just like, yeah, I guess everyone else calls me the Penguin, so why don't you call me the Penguin? True. He doesn't love it, but he also. So it's not like it was his motif. No, definitely. But he's also, I think he likes it because it's like the one thing that we've always known about the Penguin is like, oh, he loves to be underestimated. That's his jam. Underestimate me. Assume I'm just a short, fat guy and I'm not very good at this. And that's how I'm going to take advantage of you. And that's here. It's totally here. He plays on all that. He plays the cops. He plays Batman. He's a smart guy.
It's true. Right. And that is something that is present from moment one of the Penguin's existence is that the Penguin is very clever.
He's intelligent. Yeah. First and foremost.
He's very, very smart.
That's his main power.
Yeah. And like, I mean, he's not like crafting like impossible brain teasers like the Riddler, but he's a master planner. He knows how to outfox people. He's friggin' streetwise, like he covers a lot of bases.
Yeah. He could schmooze you too, man. The ladies like him. The cops like him. Like he can schmooze just about anybody. He's really good.
Well, this is certainly before the Penguin becomes a legitimate physical oddity.
Well, yeah, definitely.
He's a goofy looking dude here, but I mean, this is far from the Penguin we would get later on.
Oh no, this is short guy, big nose. That's basically what it is. And the joke is he's short and he wears a tux. Big nose. Like he's not the Danny DeVito, Tim Burton, rotund, bizarre.
Right, he doesn't have flippers. I guess in the comics have never really embraced the idea that he doesn't have Penguin is physically deformed.
Yeah, he doesn't have flippers in the comics, no.
But like Batman Returns, I'm not sure why Tim Burton was like, well, certainly a garden variety mob boss is no match for the Batman. What if we make him live in the sewers and ride a giant rubber duck?
Don't forget green stuff comes out of his mouth when he gets
mad.
And
he bites off fish. He bites the heads off of fish,
right.
Raw, live fish.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. No, but like all said and done, this is a really good first appearance of the Penguin.
It's not just a phone. It is a Morse code generator.
But he calls it a phone because I don't think
he calls it a phone, but it's like a telegraph.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if like walkie-talkies were a thing yet.
Right? Two-way telephone is what it says.
Two-way telephone. But in the end, straight up fight with the Penguin, and Batman is like on the tracks, and the Penguin's like, I'm about to murder you, dude. I'm gonna let this train hit you. And Batman's just like, oh no. Which I was just like, okay. I mean, I guess we were still figuring out Batman. This is very early. I get it.
Well, and Penguin gets away. Batman lays down. Batman lays flat. Every movie has ever taught me is like if a train or a subway is about to roll over you, lay as flat as you can.
Yeah. But
Batman,
it's thrilling.
And while Batman is waiting for the train to pass, the Penguin escapes.
Yeah. And Robin thinks Batman's dead. Turns out he's okay because look, they got to end the comic and they only have like 2 boxes left. So we gotta get this done.
Yeah. We've got to pad this issue out with Slam Bradley and
right.
Whatever else, Spy, that, everyone's favorite character, Spy.
The best part of all this, though, is like, okay, at this point in his career, Batman had been deputized. He was basically a cop. He was working.
It was everything short of a badge.
Right.
Yeah.
And when the shit went down and the cops were like, you shouldn't have stole that idol, Batman, Commissioner Gordon was just like, God damn it, I can't believe I deputized that guy. He was so mad. And then the end here, he's like, oh, cough. Oh, sorry we suspected you, Batman. But of course.
I never doubted you for a second.
I always knew you were innocent.
Yeah.
Come on, Gordon. Come on, Gordo. What are you doing, asshole? No, really good first appearance of the Penguin. And I think we're going to see a lot of this carry through to like further. They still play on this same character, and we'll see it.
No one is actually running out and buying the first appearance of the Penguin, or very few of you.
But this is
this is a buy it. In the parlance of our show, this is a buy it because it's good.
It's a key issue collector's item. The first appearance of the Penguin, one of Batman's biggest and most underestimated villains, I would say. I love the Penguin, honestly, but for a long time there, I didn't get it. And this is a fun exercise going to figure out when did the Penguin become the Penguin that I know? Because we're not there yet. I'll say that.
Well, I mean, as far as a character appearing for the first time and being recognizable as the character we know today, I don't know how often that happens.
Yeah.
Like this character appeared 80 years ago and it's the Penguin. Like there's no confusing him for any other character.
Well, I mean, you could say the same about the Joker too,
but even, well, sure. I mean,
which is not a bad thing. I think that shows how iconic Batman's stable of villains really are. You know,
But I think that you would agree that the Joker has been wildly different than
For
he was
sure.
back in the day.
For sure.
But this penguin is just, this feels like the penguin I've always been reading about.
yeah, and we're going to see that as this exercise goes on.
We're going to skyrocket forward to the Bronze Age, mainly because it's kind of impossible to pin down when the Silver and Golden Ages demarcate for some characters. I assumed that the Golden Age always, for everybody across the board, ended with Showcase number 4 when Barry Allen first appeared.
I don't, not really. I mean, like,
But that's not the case.
everybody appears like, oh yeah, that's your first Silver Age Flash character and stuff like that.
Well,
But,
yes,
like,
but consider they
not
were
the end
still
of the Golden
making
Age.
Alan Scott comics
yeah,
in 1954,
sure.
and so it was no big deal to say, yeah, the Silver Age starts with Showcase number 4.
That's just
Because the only characters that were still around were Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
right. But that's just like your opinion, man. You know, like
It's not. And so the first Golden Age, the first Silver Age Batman is considered an issue of, I think, Detective Comics, where the Batman has the yellow oval for the first time.
Okay.
And then, but the wild thing is that what is considered the first Silver Age Penguin, Batman 155, came out before the first yellow oval.
So the first Silver Age Batman Detective looks like people are saying it is Detective 217, March 1st, 1955.
No, that's not correct.
And then someone else says, nope, Batman 234. The first Silver Age appearance of Two-Face, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, no, like nobody can agree on this. I don't know.
Detective 236, which I believe is the first yellow oval Batman.
Fair enough. A lot of people have a lot of ideas here from what I'm Googling, though.
Yeah.
So let's get to the Bronze Age. Let's get to the Bronze Age Penguin here. Because,
But I mean, it's just so wild to me that like the first Silver Age Penguin
but I also think it's very
came out
difficult.
before the first Silver Age Batman. It's so strange.
But even if you talk about the first Silver Age Penguin versus the Golden Age Penguin, what was the major difference?
No, you're right. You're not wrong.
Not
and
at
that's
all.
another reason. That's another reason why I went a little deeper. And so we're talking about Batman 374. This came out during the Bronze Age. It's from August 1984. It's written by Doug Mensch with pencils by Don Newton, inks by Alfredo Alcala, colors by Adrian Roy, letters by John Costanza, cover by Don Newton, Dick Giordano, and Anthony Tollin. Ungraded, $12. CGC 9.8, $150.
Not much.
This is not a key issue. There's nothing really special about it, but this is on a lot of like best of the Penguin lists. You can imagine that those lists aren't super highly populated.
Well, sure. Okay,
There aren't a million best Penguin stories.
But more importantly, this is post-crisis, correct? So we have...
No, this is pre-crisis.
This is pre-crisis. So we have not
Yes.
wiped away all the stuff from before yet.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Because
So-
this Penguin, again, like... this
Well,
book-
now, we have in a way, like the Golden Age Penguin would now at this point be considered the Penguin of Earth 2.
Okay.
So, but this is the Penguin of Earth 1, who I guess technically first appeared in Batman number 155. But the reason I chose this one, other than it being on a best of list, is that this came out during the era that Matt and I would have been introduced to the Penguin. So this came out during our formative years.
Maybe you,
yeah,
buddy. I was reading Marvel books at this time, so...
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it came out when we were up.
He was on the stand.
When we were of that age. Yeah, the Batman Adam West show was probably in syndication, but like this was the Penguin of the comics. Oh, when like the Superpowers line came out.
Yeah, 84, definitely.
Like this is that Penguin.
And this is the Penguin from the cartoon, no question. Absolutely.
Super Friends Penguin. This is that Penguin.
100%. Yeah. But still, monocle, top hat, wearing the tux,
Yep.
big
You
nose.
bet.
The main
yes,
difference,
absolutely.
this penguin, he like demands to be taken seriously, more or less.
And also the umbrellas are a little bit more
Yeah.
trick umbrella than
Yeah.
like one like it's one thing to have a blade or a little gas thing, but this penguin has got like a Green Arrow's quiver full of trick umbrellas.
Oh
kind
yeah,
of.
he's got all the trick umbrellas at this point.
All right, so here's the setup that I assume you wrote this.
I wrote this.
Good for you.
It's on. I put it. Well, the one that was up on the fandom was terrible. No offense to that person, but I fixed it.
Thank you for your service. Fresh out of jail, the Penguin sets out to establish himself as one of Gotham's most ingenious criminals by robbing bird-themed jewelry stores with explosive robotic penguins.
It was the 80s.
There's that Batman Returns flavor.
But it was
right
the
there.
80s, right? That's what you did
Yeah.
in the 80s to become like a terrifying criminal.
Sure.
Robot animals.
When that doesn't prove enough to change his comical reputation, he turns to the press and offers Vicky Vale an exclusive expose only to be denied.
Yeah.
Next, the Penguin sets his sights on the world stage and plans to steal the secrets of the Pentagon's quote-unquote early bird warning system. It's got a theme, folks. From one of Vicky's peers who is attending a party at Vale's home. Little does the Penguin know Bruce Wayne is bringing Alfred's daughter, Julia, to the same party, and Batman isn't planning on letting the Penguin use American military secrets to prove he's a serious criminal threat.
The
Matt,
Julia shit.
you are gesticulating wildly.
The Julia
just
shit
then.
melted my brain. I did not know there was an Alfred
All right,
daughter.
so buckle up. Here's a little bit of history about Julia Pennyworth before we get too deep into the story.
Never heard of this.
Julia Pennyworth is an existing character from she first appeared in the Silver Age, though her last name is different at this point because she is the daughter of Alfred and the famous DC Comics French spy Mademoiselle Marie. And so that's like some retcon stuff because I think Mademoiselle Marie is sort of like how Nick Fury was retroactively created to be a World War II guy, like
Okay.
Sergeant Rock stories. Mademoiselle Marie, I don't think was actually around in the 40s. I could be wrong about that. Matt's looking it up as we speak, but
Check it. Oh, she was, dude, in Star Spangled War Stories.
oh shit, I stand corrected.
Yeah. Well, sorry, 1959. But she was around.
Well, but even so,
Yeah.
right. And so Mademoiselle Marie is, relatively famous as far as like DC Comics espionage characters go.
I'll tell you what, she
And-
is hot as hell, too.
Yeah, I
She
mean,
is
she's
so
French,
sexy.
she's sexy. She wears a beret.
Got a machine gun.
And
Damn.
they came up with this little story where she and Alfred got together at some point and they had a daughter and she was raised away from Alfred, which is why she has a different name. But here she is visiting, living in Wayne Manor, staying in Wayne Manor while she's visiting Alfred. Alfred is constantly trying to hook
Yeah.
her up with Bruce.
Alfred's like, I know how I can be your dad. Like, that's weird, Alfred. That's super weird.
Bruce, fuck my daughter, please.
Like, come on, man.
But meanwhile, Batman, like Bruce Wayne is actively dating Vicky Vale, not just like weird, like pretending Playboy shit. Like he is dating Vicky Vale.
And let me tell you,
Vicky is like, this bitch.
let me tell you, I don't know if it's like, I'm not going to say that Don Newton is a bad artist. I will say Don Newton has a style that I don't think is the best, but Don definitely tried to draw Julia.
Fight.
He tried to draw Julia very attractive. He draws Vicky Vale like an age school principal, like a frumpy, like 80s.
Well, the hair and the fashion,
Man!
like the hair and the fashion are weird. I don't get
Yeah,
that.
but Julia
I don't
looks
really get
great.
that, but-
Julia's sexy as hell. I think he's trying to. I think Don is trying to tell us, like, yeah, man, you don't want to. Vic, get out of here.
No,
Come on.
I don't know. I'm not sure why Vicky looks like that.
She looks awful.
Yeah, she's got a weird hairdo and she wears frumpy pantsuits. But
I
I mean,
do-
she's a reporter. She's all business.
I do love that this Oswald Cobblepot, like, is so egotistical that he will go to the news to be like, hey, you want to interview a bad guy? I'm your dude. Like, I'm going to admit to a bunch of crimes in the paper. Then I'm going to steal something from the Pentagon. They will know it is me. 100%. But I'm so badass at this with my robot penguins that I'm rolling around with. Also, just got out of prison. in this issue. Literally got out of prison.
He was recently paroled from prison.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wants to be taken seriously. So, of course, go to the news and ask for an expose.
Well, but that's later on in the issue. At first, he's playing it like he's trying to play Batman, but like, I don't know what you mean, Batman. I'm just feeding the birds. The Penguin, like Matt said, is an egomaniac. He wants to know his genius, but he also wants to toy with Batman. And so he robs a jewelry store to kind of finance. He's like trying to piggyback up, right? He wants to work his way up to a big scheme. And so first he robs a jewelry store. Then he hires some goons to rob a party. He messes with Batman because he's sitting right outside the scene of the crime of that first party, feeding the pigeons in the park. And Batman is like, that's the fucking Penguin. He's rubbing our noses in it. And the Penguin is like, I don't know what you mean, sir. Go ahead and search me. I've got no jewels on me. I'm just a citizen. I served my time.
Yeah. He wants to show him. I'm smarter than you.
Yeah. And Batman is like, we've got our eyes on you, Penguin. And then he leaves. Penguin immediately gets on his umbrella cell phone.
Sure.
Which at this point we had firmly established telephone technology.
I mean, we didn't have personal cell phone technology, so he's
right.
doing
but we had, walkie-talkie.
It's 1984, bro. We didn't quite have like the big boxy thing yet. I don't think. So.
But I mean, like the henchmen still wearing headphones and sitting in front of a ham radio. Yeah, so
it's like a walkie-talkie. Yeah,
it's a give and take.
Yeah.
He immediately gets on the two-way umbrella to his henchmen. The game is afoot. Let's get this done. The mayor is horrifically corrupt.
Oh,
to the point of hiring assassins.
This is at that point where everybody in Gotham was corrupt. Everyone. Like, there was no way. The only good person was Commissioner Gordon. Everyone else. Yeah. The Parks Commission. The Sewage Commission. They were all in on it,
So we learned that the mayor was the one that hired assassins to kill Harvey Bullock, and they failed. And so that's bad. Oh no! In fact, it wasn't just any assassin; it was Deadshot, and Deadshot failed to kill Harvey Bullock.
I don't know, like shooting the broadside of a barn. I don't know how he missed him.
I mean, I don't want to.
He's a large gentleman.
So we're at another dinner party here at Vicky Vale's place. We are introduced to her contemporary, this handsome-looking beardo.
He's dressed like a land baron from a Zorro episode.
He looks like Leonardo DiCaprio from Django Unchained.
Yeah, that's great.
His name is Bill Modell, and he covers government stuff.
And again, I don't know what's going on with the colors. There's so much purple in this book. Anytime they can get someone wearing purple, they're like, we got too much purple ink, guys. We got to get rid of this shit.
So Bill covers the government stuff. So he's talking about the Pentagon and this
the early bird thing. Yeah.
He's come to find out about this system called Early Bird, which is it's sort of like that thing that Robert Redford wanted to do in the Winter Soldier movie, where it's like not good. It's to safeguard America, but also at the expense of everybody's personal freedoms.
It spies on us.
A few innocent lives.
It spies on us so we can figure out the threats before they're threats. Now that's a whole nother. I mean, come on.
But yeah, and so this guy's kind of like not sleazy, but he's like, he's kind of gross, but he's got morals, and he's like, I don't know if I should publish this because
he definitely wants to have sex with Vicky Vale, though. 100%.
He definitely wants to bang Vicky Vale.
Yeah,
that's true.
He's all over her. And the Penguin's like, oh, wow. Because I think then, he knows this will piss Batman off, too.
Yeah. Who should arrive but Bruce and Julia, and Vicky is not having it.
No.
But yeah, then the Penguin fires his grappling hook umbrella, which shoots a toilet plunger.
It appears to be a plunger, a suction cup, yes.
From the end of it, at the end of a suction cup, and then he rappels down it like a zip line, and then robs everybody at the party and kidnaps Modell to get the secrets of the Early Bird. So, like, Batman figures it out, of course. And we get some fun stuff where Batman fights the Penguin's goons while the Penguin, like, tries to run away.
This Penguin cannot get in a fist fight with the Batman. It's firmly established.
But he also, again, gets away.
Well, sure, but he only gets away because Batman's busy whipping the shit out of the Penguin's dudes. That's the only reason he gets away. Because he's like, take him, fellas.
I guess the reason I bring that up is he might not be able to hold his own in a fist fight against this version of Batman. He's smart enough to like use his henchmen and create a distraction.
Oh yeah,
and get away.
He's getting the hell out of here. Definitely. I'm just saying this is not this version of the Penguin. They have figured out. Okay, by now Batman is badass. He knows karate. Like he will whip you.
Also,
silly.
the Penguin is fat and elderly.
The Penguin is fat and kind of silly and repels around on umbrellas with toilet plungers. So yes, this is still very 60s TV show. It's silly, but he wants to be taken seriously. And like this Penguin is setting himself up to be world threat, like level criminal. Next issue, he's in Antarctica with the Secret and like, come get me, Batman. And like wants everybody to see like, I'm so important. Like I'm threatening the whole world. His ego is that crazy.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's going to carry through all these stories. His ego is like his biggest enemy. It's what pushes him to do what he does.
Heel, as they say.
Yeah.
Right.
It pushes him to do what he does, but it's also his biggest flaw. And that's why he's going to get busted when the detective, what it's called, in the next Detective, the Penguin in Antarctica.
Yeah, I should say that during this time, more often than not, the two books, Batman and Detective, there were only two at the time, bounced back and forth.
Yeah.
And so it was like getting two Batman comics a month. I love this era of Batman and Detective. I know that the fashion sense and the way that the women are like the hairstyles and stuff, it's goofy looking.
Sure.
It's very, very dated. I think Don Newton and Alfredo Alcala are a titanic team.
They're great. They just draw
on the detective side. It's Gene Colan on the detective side.
Yeah.
And so like these Batman books for I don't know how long, they are stunning to look at.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
And this is when I got into Batman. Like I loved this issue. It's so silly. But again, it's the Penguin being Penguin.
Sure.
And it's a buy it from me.
And the Penguin is smoking here. I don't know when he started smoking, but I looked at a bunch of Golden Age appearances and he didn't have that long cigarette thing. So,
Burgess Meredith had it in the show. So
and
I always remember him having it in the comics
right.
at the time.
And I assume maybe it was the 60s. They were like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. And just started doing it. But it is definitely here, right? Yeah. No, this Penguin is definitely a lot closer. I was not reading Batman at this time. But this Penguin is a lot closer to the one that I would start to recognize later. He's still an idiot. His ego is ridiculous. He's going to Antarctica because there's penguins there. Like, okay. Like he's still doing all the bird shit. But yeah, this is a fun book. I'm going to give it a buy it. It does look pretty good. These two they don't do the ladies in this book a lot of favors. I'll say that.
But again, it was a different time and they aren't the people Joe, that dictated fashion.
Most of the dudes look fine. So I don't know.
Look, man, I don't know what to tell you.
Let's jump to the 90s. This would have been right when I started reading Batman. It was Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan's Detective is where I first started reading Batman. The first Batman that I read was Dark Knight Returns, and I went, oh man, I'm going to take a break from my X-Men comics and read some of this Batman stuff. This is crazy. We're talking about Detective Comics 683. This is from DC, March 1995. It's written by Chuck Dixon. Art and cover by Graham Nolan, inks by Scott Hanna, colors by Adrian Roy, letters by John Costanza. Cover price still out there, $3.50, maybe at a quarter or something if you're bagging and boarding it. $90, CGC 9.8. Now, this is a collector's item. It is the first appearance of the Iceberg Lounge. This is the first idea of the Penguin as the casino guy, right? The club owner. The guy, he's not just a criminal anymore. He's always been a businessman, in quotes, doing stuff. But like this idea of Chuck Dixon giving him the job, it's like, it just makes sense. Yeah. He runs a smarmy casino with girls walking around scantily clad and all the politicians come and gamble there and shit. You know, like it makes perfect sense.
He is a respectable businessman.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
Just like Wilson Fisk.
It blows my mind that it wasn't until the 90s until they did this with this character. I can't believe that. So here's your setup. It's a story called Odds Against. Penguin's now a legitimate businessman running a casino, the Iceberg Lounge, where Gotham goes to unwind, drink, dance, and of course, gamble. But when one player takes in almost 300 grand in less than an hour, the Penguin is paying attention. Enter the Actuary, a mysterious, unimpressive player with a penchant for reading the odds and a plan to show the Penguin his worth by setting up crimes with the least statistical likelihood of Batman intervening. That is so cool. Because if there's one thing that Batman does, like everybody knows what Batman does. He just shows up at night. He's very quiet, sneaks around. Blah, blah, blah. So what do we do?
He plays the odds.
Yeah.
Like this guy plays the odds.
So what do? We do a crime in broad daylight. Batman's not going to come out during the day. Right? You might have to worry about Superman or Green Lantern, but whatever. But is the Actuary really one step ahead of Batman, or is the Penguin using them both to prove that he's smarter? I love Graham Nolan, right? And I love this era of Batman. I will say, this is another gentleman who's not doing the ladies in this book a lot of favors, and it starts on the cover.
I mean, he's also not doing his career or legacy any favors by his current.
I'm not even going into that. Yeah,
I'm just saying, we're judging him based on how we felt about him back in the day,
right.
And this book looks great.
Now, the fight scenes and stuff, the cover is kind of laughable. The Penguin looks cool. He's in all white. I like that white tuxedo because he's a good guy. He's a businessman. This isn't the old Penguin. This is a legit businessman now. And then first page, Batman and Robin beating the shit out of people. And it looks great. Really good. Like the Batman shielding Robin from the explosion panel that goes off. Like, God, fantastic stuff. So outside of like the Iceberg Lounge, this is not a Penguin that's making bird jokes or bird references. This is way closer to like the...
but even the Iceberg Lounge is not a bird pun. It's just it's just a cold. It's Antarctica, right. I guess.
Sure, but that's the closest I'm saying we get.
Yeah,
yeah. He's not that at all. Like this Penguin is scary, and there's a panel where he's talking to two of his henchmen about like, you got beat up by Batman again. Well, I'm getting sick of this, and it's like the Penguin is all black. He's smoking, and he's glowing red in a red background, and it's just like this guy's evil. This dude is straight up evil. He's conniving, he's planning, he's smart, maybe as smart as Batman on the other side, but he's a bad guy, of course.
Man, look at the 5 head on the Actuary, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a nerd. He's a big brain nerd. That's what you're trying to do, And I love the idea of this character, where he's another character, like, sure, he's taking a bunch of money and he's not counting cards or anything like that. They sit him down and they're like, what's your secret? And he's like, well, counting cards takes too much time. I'm playing the odds. I'm a statistics guy. I just roll the odds. And the Penguin's like, I can dig it. This dude is just he's a nerd.
I love that the Actuary's whole plan was to be so good at gambling that they thought he was cheating and then trust that this mobster was not going to have him chopped into tiny bits and fed to the fish.
So here's where the Actuary's problem is. Just like the Penguin, dude has got an ego.
Too big.
He's
too big of an ego.
He is just like the Penguin. He's exactly like him. He's planning, he's conniving, he's a nerd. Everybody underestimates him. And the Penguin looks at this guy and he thinks, I know what you're doing. You think I am going to underestimate you as well. But I'm going to use you while I can, because the Penguin is smarter. He's been around the block a few times, right? This is an older Penguin. He's running a business. He's dealt with Batman. He knows the rules. The Actuary thinks he's this super smart dude. Of course, Batman catches on to what he's doing pretty quick. But I think it's a really cool story element to take another character that's basically a young Penguin, but he's a math guy. He's not like a crime genius. He's a math genius that's using it for crime. And have the Penguin in the background kind of just watching all this, smiling. Like, oh, this is really interesting. And it shows how intelligent this Penguin is. I love this issue. I love this era of detective. I'm giving this a gigantic buy it. The Commissioner Gordon sleeping in his boxers. Shit.
Yeah.
It was a little much, but you know.
I mean, hey, you know. You know what? And poor Harv again. Dude got shot again.
Yeah. Well,
he's in a freaking coma.
He's a sad sack. Harv has a lot of problems.
Yeah, but Montoya's here, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is a great issue. It's kind of a classic evergreen era of Batman. It's very Batman the animated series coded.
Sure.
This is great. It's a buy it. The art is wonderful. Yeah, I love this era as well. I was already pretty familiar with the 80s Batman when this stuff came out, but I still love it. I think it still holds up. Chuck Dixon is a very, very good Batman writer.
He's fantastic. And just the characterizations that he does here. And of course, the next issue, they do all this stuff, right? They carry out the crime. And he's like, I did it. My statistical shit worked. And then Batman's like, no, it didn't. I've been onto this the whole time. But
I actually did read the second issue.
It's great. The Penguin, of course.
And it's like, Batman will never think of this. And then, of course, Batman thinks of it.
Yeah, and the Penguin knows he's going to, but the Penguin has another scheme going where he gets away scot-free and some of the loot. Thanks, actuary, you dumbass.
Pretty cool. But you know what? And then that also goes to, like, the cunning. Like, this is much more playing up the cunning side of the Penguin, where he puts this guy out to dry.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. He's the mob boss.
And then the guy knows that if the actuary knows that if he doesn't cooperate and take the fall, that the Penguin will murder him 1,000 different ways.
Right. This is the Godfather. This is the mob boss Penguin. This is like
it's awesome.
The
it's
Penguin
so good.
that they are doing on TV right now.
We're going to wrap things up with our most recent comic. There are more modern comics that we've covered on the show, such as the Penguin ongoing series by Tom King. We've talked about that stuff already.
Sure, but this one also really sets the stage for a lot of the modern stuff we have talked about and where this character is at.
And this is a pretty celebrated Penguin story in its own right. It is Joker's Asylum, the Penguin, #1. It was a one-shot. The Joker's Asylum was sort of a 5th-week event in 2008. This came out in September 2008, where each one-shot dealt with a different character, and the premise was that it's the Joker telling stories about his contemporaries in Batman's Rogues Gallery. This is Jason Aaron's first DC work. Not to be confused with his first work on an actual ongoing series like Action Comics. But this is the story people talk about when they were like, oh, but what about the Joker's Asylum? That's this one. So, written by Jason Aaron, art by Jason Pearson. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Jason Pearson died, right?
Yeah, we lost that guy we needed so much more from this dude. His art is incredible.
I know.
Absolutely incredible.
A Hack/Body Bags team up comic comes out this week. And I was like, boy, it is a crying shame that Jason Pearson is not drawing this.
I don't need anybody to draw that.
Because why bother?
Well, that's the point. And honestly, the story in Body Bags, whatever. It was the art.
It's the art, yeah. Colors are by Dave McCaig. He is great. Letters are by Rob Lee. Sells for cover price. It ain't worth nothing.
Yeah. Damn shame, too.
But it's also only from 2008.
I mean, so sure, but
quit your whining.
It's an amazing character study of this.
But it's also not rare. So,
you
can find this.
They printed plenty of them. And it was probably a 5th-week event, so nobody really ordered it, and comic shops got stuck with piles of them.
It was a 5th-week event, yes, as I said. Here is your setup. This is probably a solicit, huh?
No. This is me.
He Who Laughs Last, did you?
That's the name of the story. He Who Laughs Last.
Oh, so you did write this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here's your setup. Courtesy of Map On once again. He Who Laughs Last. The story opens with a young Oswald being teased by girls in high school who lead him to believe that one of them wanted to go to the dance with him. Flash forward to a jaded Penguin surrounded by vapid women who only want his money, This penguin is bored, angry, and tired of people using him and underestimating him. But when he purchases a woman at a underground slave auction begging for help, everything changes. The penguin is in love and someone needs him. He's even ignoring the annoying Batman and obsessing over his newfound love. But all the while, the judgmental gaze of others is still there, and with it, the anger, the need for control, to prove he's smarter, better, and most of all, powerful, slowly rises back to the surface. And when his new love sees Oswald for who he truly is, she judges him just like all the rest.
Oof.
That's a Matt. Okay, don't toot your own horn, buddy. It's unsavory.
I'm not.
I was just going to compliment you because that is really well.
This is just
that's really well done, dude. I'm trying to pay you a compliment.
It's just what the story's about, though. Jason Aaron here, and like the best part of this is this story is narrated by the Joker. Like the Joker's telling you the story, so you don't know. Like, I mean, that's true.
Sort of the sort of like background thought is like, is the Joker just is he exaggerating?
He's an unreliable narrator at best. So,
sure. Yeah.
And like the story with like young Oswald, he's a cute little big nosed kid. And like, you know, these mean hot girls are playing a joke on him. And it's like in that moment, this is where it all started.
The penguin is born.
Had someone just been nice, you know, and not teased him, it wouldn't have gone to this. And you cut to the scene in the car with the super hot bitches sitting with them, and they're like, "Let's go party, Oswald." And he's like, "Get out!" He's just done.
Right.
Over it. It's so great. Like the flash forward's perfect. But of course, who does he fall in love with? He falls in love with someone he sees being victimized, because the penguin, in his eyes, he is a victim. No.
I also like the idea that the penguin has a line, right?
Yeah.
The penguin is not going to buy a sex slave. The penguin, maybe on any other day.
Well, hold up, dude, because in the end of this, he does return her to sex slavery.
Yes, you're right. You're right. And look, I'm not justifying any of his behavior, but I think that there's a line that the penguin won't cross. Like if a villain is just anything goes.
Well, sure.
That's not interesting.
But I didn't quite pick up on that here. Like what I got from Jason Aaron was
because he says it. He's like, I would never buy another human being. Well, I would never.
But he definitely has and does.
well, he bought her to save her, but yes, he did send her back.
Yeah. So I think he, in a moment of weakness, he looks at someone that he sees as a victim, and he goes, "You know what? I'm going to take a chance. And he instantly falls in love. He's like, I did it. I feel good. I did a good thing.
Because she's not scared of him, and she's not laughing at him.
And she's not judging him. More importantly, she's not judging him. She's just, thank you. You rescued me. And there's even a panel where she's like hugging him, you know, the morning after. And he's terrified. He's like looking straight forward.
He doesn't know what to do.
And his big nose there and his mouth, he's frowning like, what is this feeling? You know, it's great. Then Batman does show up, and he's like, Batman's beating up his goons. They're in the Iceberg in the office, and there's dudes flying around hitting the wall, and the penguin's just like, you would love her. Her name's Violet, and she's amazing.
That whole scene is incredible because it's just the Batman coming in to throw his weight around with no evidence. And then when it ends, the penguin is like telling this love story to Batman.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, well, anyway, see you next week.
Yeah. He's like, the Batman doesn't find, and the best part of it is the way this is drawn. Pearson, all you see is fist, foot, cape, you know, like silhouette. You never see the Batman. At most,
you see a silhouette, yeah.
Right, because the penguin's not paying any attention to him. Doesn't care. He's so wrapped up and in love. And it's just fantastic. And like, you can see Jason Aaron working. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's building up, and all of a sudden you're like, I like this penguin. He's a nice guy. He's doing the thing, you know? And then we're at a restaurant, and this chef that probably had nothing to do with anything, that probably wasn't even looking at him, just laughs.
He was
a little too loud.
He happened to be pointing in the penguin's direction.
Right.
Talking to a waiter.
And he laughs.
And he was laughing, like belly laughing,
just
like something funny.
A little too loud. And in the penguin's head, he's like,
he's laughing at me.
I don't even care if that's not at me or not. He's like, the chance that it is enough. And she sees in him, like in that moment, all of a sudden, he's not smiling anymore. And his eyes turn red and his teeth are baring. And it's just like, oh.
Well, suddenly he's holding a knife.
Yeah.
And there's a panel where the penguin is no longer paying attention to her. He's staring at the cook.
And it's
at the
like
chef.
He can't.
And he's
take
got
his
the
eyes
knife
off.
in his hand, and she's looking at the knife.
Yeah.
And then she very gently puts her hands around his hand and says, Oswald. And snaps him back to reality.
Yeah. But it's like,
and
what's he really in love
But the
with?
damage is done.
Right. And
Yeah.
you can see as the story goes on, like she starts to pick up on who this guy really is. She gets into his journal and sees all like he's collected, information on the people that he's ruined their lives because of slights that were real or imaginary. And and as this is happening, she freaks out, of course, and she turns on him when she questions him. He instantly snaps back. He goes, shit. I screwed up. I should have never done this. I was wrong. I'm the smart one. My ego is all that I have. Everyone is going to judge me, and he's instantly evil guy again. Like he's just his own worst enemy. It's so good. I love this book.
It's actually a bit of a shame, really, because there are moments where you really feel like, and maybe this is the art. I understand that he's committing evil acts, but you really feel like he is legitimately hurt.
He is, but that's the problem.
And it's not just his ego. Like, no, he's hurt.
He's legit hurt, but that's the problem. He's not allowed to be hurt. His ego is like, no, that's not okay. Even in the end scene where he's in the aviary with all his birds and the girls are making fun of him, and he's like, at least I still have my birds. And one bird,
the way that unfolded,
him.
the way that whole thing unfolded, where at first you don't realize, like at first you think you see that he arranges for the birds to attack them.
Yeah.
And he's like, haha, I showed them. But then you find out much later in the issue that they figured it out immediately and came to his house with baseball bats and whipped his ass.
Right. And all he has left is his birds, and he's powerless. He's beaten up, and one bird pecks him. And what does he do? He murders all his birds because he has to punish something. He's like this creature of pure.
But again, that is a moment of weakness because we see him rolling on the ground, like rocking on the ground. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like he snapped.
But he can't deny who he is. He is this creature of pure vengeance and anger and hatred. And it's
such a wonderfully complex character study. Yeah. And one thing that I appreciate, that I loved about the art not more than anything, but something's very subtle about the art is that on this last page, we see that Penguin has taken Violet back to the underground auction. He's like, sorry, didn't work out.
Well, not just that.
I'll always remember you.
He's there with the same bimbo that he kicked out of the car.
He's there with the same bimbo, yeah. And we see him walk away from her cage, and we see him from over her shoulder, and it's all in silhouette. And the way he's drawn by Pearson is that he like literally looks like a penguin. Yeah, the shape of his body, it's great. And it's such a subtle thing.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And even
this book is great.
Even the Joker just being like, so as usual, the penguin got the last laugh. He got his vengeance. He got what he wanted, and he's sad and he's alone and he's walking away by himself. It's just like, oof.
Yeah. Ooh. Isn't it? And the Joker's like, isn't it great?
Yeah. It's like, man. So even if it is like an unreliable narrator and the story's not even true, it's like the Joker fundamentally understands something about Oswald Cobblepot. And this creative team, man, this is your modern Penguin. He is the mob boss. Right. He is the vengeful, egoist, crazy person, criminal, psychopath that pretends to be a nice guy when it benefits him, and cannot deal with his own weakness because he's not allowed to, because he's been weak before, and it was the worst thing in the world. And he'll never be weak again. Such an interesting character. I love what they have set up here.
Like the takes we get on the Penguin now. I didn't read beyond that first issue of the Tom King book, but I think that
it's very good.
I'm sure it is,
good.
but I think for my liking, they're probably leaning a little too much into the Colin Farrell sad sack
No, I don't think so. I think you should
because
read.
wasn't the deal like he had to fake his own death?
Well, because of his family, yes. He had to fake his own death and stuff.
Crawling back up from nothing.
And now he's coming back, yeah. And that's the story, is coming back. And the story that he's setting up is sort of like this: I'm done. And I'm going to go this other way and be a different person. And he's slowly figuring it out, much like here. I cannot be that other person. I do not have it in me. And it's like Batman. He could not be Bruce Wayne if he wanted to be Bruce Wayne. It's not going to work. The Penguin is slowly figuring out, I cannot be anyone but the Penguin because of the choices I've made in my life. It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
Love it.
Matt, before we return the penguins we borrowed from the zoo, we got to figure out what we're going to do with all these fresh sardines.
I got some ideas. Don't worry.
I bet you do. And pick one of these comics to enter the THN permanent collection. Is that really something we need to do with the Cosmic
We
Showboat?
do it every damn time. I mean, come on. Now, look, I am super tempted to say that last one we read, the Joker's Asylum Penguin. It's such an amazing story, but look, if we have a chance...
Why wouldn't you just go with that temptation?
Because if we have a chance to put the first appearance of the Penguin from the Golden Age in our collection, we read it, we reviewed it, I have to put it in there, Joe. It's worth $9,000. I'm doing it.
That's not what the permanent collection means. The permanent collection is more of a state of being.
Sure, but my permanent collection is going to be worth some money. You go, let me know how much
you, Matt,
your state of being is worth, sweetheart. Right?
While it's certainly very cool, for me, I think I'm going to give it to, I'm going to give it to the Joker's Asylum Penguin one shot. It's so chilling. The art is so good.
It's great.
And it's got, it's got the most modern sensibilities. So it's a little easier to digest.
Sure.
But
sure.
All those other Penguin books hold up if you just consider the era they're from.
Yeah, and look, I picked mine honestly because I think what Kane and Finger did was truly create an iconic character. Although they have changed over the years, they created a character that is not very different at all from day one. One of the most iconic villains of all time.
It wasn't the favorite book you read out of this batch, so
it's a feat, dude. I'm just saying.
You still you once again fundamentally misunderstand the exercise.
It's a feat. I would argue you never understood it to begin with. So.
Sure.
Joey, it's time to strip out of our tuxedos and head to the THN Sanctum Sanctorum butt naked to discuss the new comics that's going to hit everyone's LCS next Wednesday. LCS is Cool Guy Talk for a local comic book store.
It's not that cool.
It's super cool. Next Wednesday, October 9th, and make our must-read picks. And remember the new exercise here. Let's see if we've still got our comic shop muscles and try to sell our picks to each other like we're just some nerd coming in off the street. That's right.
But I'm so tired.
I've been working out all day. I feel good. Joey, what's your pick for next week?
My pick for next week is Action Comics 1070 from DC. It's written by Mark Waid and Mariko Tamaki with art by Clayton Henry and Skylar Partridge. There, I sold it to you. It's 40 pages for $4.99. I really did. Mark Waid on Action Comics. Mariko Tamaki. Yeah. Here's your solicit. The Action Comics Weekly starts here with Superman superstars Mark Waid, Clayton Henry, Mariko Tamaki, and Skylar Partridge. An otherworldly horror tearing its way through Metropolis has emerged from the Phantom Zone. Something's wrong in the zone, something terrible, and Superman must enter alone to find out what. From the pages of Absolute Power and Batman Superman World's Finest comes a new action epic unlike any you've seen before from the visionary creative team of Mark Waid and Clayton Henry. Plus, the Woman of Tomorrow is here. Today, Supergirl specials Mariko Tamaki and Skylar Partridge return to bring Kara to the farthest reaches of space in pursuit of a mysterious threat only she can handle. Look, Dan.
Okay, now time out.
The no-brainer.
Time out. I walk up to the register and I'm like, look, man, I got to read one comic. I got $4.99. I have 499 pennies in my pocket, man. Give me that one comic. Why do I want to read this? And you're like, Superman. I'm like, I don't know, man. Superman's kind of a dork. Isn't he just like a big blue Boy Scout? Why am I buying this? What you got,
First of all,
Patrick? What you got?
First of all, you're wrong about Superman. That is a common misconception. Superman is not a big blue dorky Boy Scout. Second of all, Mark Waid is Mark Waid is probably the greatest superhero writer in comics. I said it.
I like it. You're taking a stand. I like that. All right, kids.
I said it.
Keep telling me, nerd. What else you got?
Mariko Tamaki, also phenomenal talent, working on Supergirl, a character that is up and coming. Obviously, she's been around for a long time, but she's got a movie coming out.
I was going to say.
I'm saying,
been
but
around
like,
for a bit?
Her star is on the rise, is what I mean.
All right. I'll buy that.
Clayton Henry, Skylar Partridge, top-notch art. Like, plus, this is the start of a weekly series. Yeah, it says 1070, but this is number 1 of a comic book that you can enjoy every single week. No waiting a month for it to come out.
You sold me. All right. I'm buying it. You got me. All right. I'm in. There. See, you still got it. Huh?
For the record, I truly loathe this.
You
exercise.
still got it. My pick for next week is Absolute Batman, number 1 from DC. It's written by Scott Snyder with art by Nick Dragotta. It is 48 pages. It is also $4.99. Here's your solicit. Lot of all caps here, so get ready for some screaming. Batman legend Scott Snyder and iconic artist Nick Dragotta transform the Dark Knight's tale for the modern age. Without the mansion, without the money, without the butler, what's left is the absolute Dark Knight. Okay.
I mean, otherwise, very succinct.
Yeah.
2 sentences.
All right. Now do the thing.
Man, why should I buy this comic?
I'll tell you why, nerd. Okay, look. You know Batman. You've known Batman forever. Have you seen how fucking huge this Batman is, bro? Have you even looked at the size of this swollen Batman that you've got here? He's got an axe. He's got a cape that whips around. Like, come on. What are you doing? You gotta buy this. Give me a break.
Is his size a selling point?
Yes, bro. Look at that.
You're bad at this.
No, bro. Come on, man. I'm talking to the kids. Here is what I'm doing. See?
Look how swole he is.
He's huge. This Batman is ripped. Are you kidding me? He's got an axe. Check it out. The axe is shaped like a bat. Come on.
Now that's fun. Sorry, I already committed my 499 pennies to Action Comics.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Nice try. I'm kidding.
No, I'll allow it. If you don't think it's enough, I'll allow it. That's the exercise.
No, I mean, Matt, I will buy both books. I'm an adult man.
I know, but we're not selling it to you and I. We're selling it to the average nerd that walked in off the street. That's the exercise. You have to.
Yeah, I understand. But how many people do you know only come in and buy one comic?
You have to take yourself out of Joe's head and put it into this poor nerd that just wants one comic book.
Yeah, okay. Well, the THN must-read trade for next week is 7 to Eternity, the Compendium. It's a trade paperback from Image Comics. It's written by Rick Remender, with art by Jerome Pena, James Herron, and Matt Hollingsworth. It's 448 pages for $34.99. Here's your solicit. The entire best-selling epic, now collected in one paperback compendium. The God of Whispers has spread an omnipresent paranoia to every corner of the kingdom of Zal. His spies hide in every hall, spreading mistrust and fear. Adam Osiris, a dying knight from a disgraced house, must choose between joining a hopeless band of magic users in their desperate bid to free their world of the evil god, or accepting his promise to give Adam everything his heart desires. It collects the entire series, 7 to Eternity, 1 through 17. I completely missed 7 to Eternity. I never even read it.
Oh, I read the whole damn thing. Okay, I'll sell it. Here's the thing. Let's just talk about art alone. If it wasn't Rick Remender, who is one of my favorite writers out there.
Sorry, what's his name?
Rick Remender, who's one of my favorite. I like Remender better. It just rolls off the tongue. He's one of my. Do you remember?
It's Remender, like remainder.
Remember, Rick Remender. He's one of my favorite writers. Okay, let's take that aside. The art starts with Jerome Pena, who is absolutely incredible. Like one of the most talented artists working in comic books today, hands down. And then they switched to James Herron, who is easily in that top 10 of best comic book artists out there working today. This book looks so goddamn amazing. And the story is fantasy on mushrooms. It is completely insane. It's the Dark Crystal, like through the eyes of a madman. I love this book. Absolutely pick this up. It's wonderful.
I hate the Dark Crystal. I'm sorry, I'm not sold.
You are a moron.
Like, no, I would
pull you out of my shop,
book, but I legitimately do.
I would
not.
I
don't care for the Dark Crystal.
You don't care about the Dark Crystal? What is your soul dead? No. Who hurt you? What happened? to you?
I don't like it. I never liked it.
Fucking Crystal, dude? Are you serious? Oh my god.
I'm not sure what's not resonating. I don't know if I don't like. The
I don't know
Crystal.
if I can do this show anymore. This is disgusting. I'm sorry.
Thank
folks.
God.
Wow.
Oh, thank God. Please just pull the plug.
Remember, we typically review our picks on the following new comics review show, although in light of this new Dark Crystal bullshit, I don't know if there's going to be another one. Just in case, be sure to add these comics to your pull files if you want to read along with THN, if we still have a show. Joe has got some Dark Crystaling to do.
Okay, look, to be fair, I probably need to rewatch it.
It is an amazing feat of Muppetry by the most impressive creative genius of our time, Jim Henson.
I am not arguing against the skill involved to make the Dark Crystal. I just don't like the movie.
Stop talking.
Excelsior! Oh.
That's it for THN 755. Next time, new comic reviews return to the show, and we're going to give you a sneak peek of our Patreon extra. In the meantime, join us for the THN Gang Hang on Saturdays. It happens at 11 o'clock Central. There is no football game at 11 o'clock this week, so I will be there. Check out our Discord.
I'll believe it when I see it because you like to wait to tell me until an hour before the show.
The Huskers are good, Joe. I don't know what to tell you, man. This hasn't happened in 35 years.
Yeah, but who knows if like your brother's going to show up and want to go fishing or some dumb bullshit.
Check out our Discord for details. Joe Patrick, tell them what else they can do at our Discord.
This is a real excuse, by the way. Fishing with my brother, I'm pretty sure.
I ain't
it's a
go
real
fishing.
Excuse.
No, we were smoking fish.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? It counts.
Yeah.
You can learn about the Punisher's libertarian take on taxes and fight about whether or not lightsaber design is cool.
It's not cool. They're so nerdy looking.
I mean, I don't know. They're iconic is the thing.
Clunky.
Or maybe you want to defend Ryan Murphy's recent output. Like Dahmer and that Menendez Boys show. Those are both pretty great, but I haven't watched Hunky Dr. Pacey on the boat.
Yeah, I haven't watched the new one, but Casey's like, oh, we're watching that. She's into it.
It's on my DVR.
Yeah.
I just have to convince Michelle to watch it. Or maybe you just want to answer the question of the week. And look, to be fair, I agree with you. Ryan Murphy in general doesn't get me excited anymore.
I like Ryan Murphy. You're agreeing with Keith Binder. I think Ryan Murphy's been putting out good shit.
I checked out of American Horror Story big time.
Oh, I watched them all.
I did watch and enjoy all of Glee though.
The Leather Daddy one was fucking great.
That's season 1.
No.
And that's where
it's not. It was the previous season where they were dealing with AIDS in New York City, and they had like a Leather Daddy slasher type.
Well, I mean, the previous season to this one, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. But there was a guy in leather in season 1.
There was a guy that wore all leather, but he wasn't a leather. A Leather Daddy is a.
Oh, you know what? Don't explain it to me. I don't need to know.
Yeah, it's a.
I don't need to know.
Yeah, Joe Patrick.
Children listen to this.
You can act like you don't know, but everybody knows, Joe.
I definitely don't know. This week's question, and you know what? Nat punched it up with a little bit of flair, and I appreciate that. It's spooky season. Someone has to protect us from the things that go bump in the night. So, who is your favorite monster hunter or fighter? I just put monster hunter on the Discord, but I guess monster fighters are technically different.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's people that, like, my job is I go out and I hunt monsters, and there's other people
Monster hunter, Bloodstone.
Yeah, Van Helsing.
Monster fighter, Ultraman.
Exactly. Yeah, that dude's not hunting. Ultra Mega, he's not hunting monsters. He's fighting monsters, you know?
Yeah, that's good. Fair distinction. Please keep your question of the week suggestions coming our way. And you can sign up for our Discord with the link at twoheadednerd.com/Discord. And really, who wouldn't want to learn more about leather daddies? It seems like a no-brainer. We'll talk about your answers on this week's Gang Hang. And if you don't dig on the Discord, send an MP3 submission for the Comic Pushers, for Ask a Nerd, or for any of our segments to twoheadednerd@gmail.com, and we'll put you on the show. You can also submit your question of the week suggestions via phone recording. Send it to the email.
We'll play it on the show. We'll play it here. If you're new to this show and you punched your phone or stereo or whatever you're listening to this podcast until it stopped making noise the second you heard Joe Patrick admit that he does not like the Dark Crystal, I assure you we're going to fix this. It's going to be okay, and you just haven't heard enough. The good news is you can hear the entire run of THN, our digital long box, at twoheadednerd.com. THN is a listener-supported podcast. It would not be possible without the generosity of donors like our patron, longtime pal, Professor Tony Mathers. He ain't no dummy, and he listens to this show. Think about that, okay?
You know what? I think I'm going to start calling him Professor Emeritus Tony Mathers.
Oh. Doesn't emeritus mean you're retired?
Professor Emeritus is like honor. Well, no. You know what?
No.
For Professor Emeritus is like Stan Lee was the chairman emeritus of Marvel, where it's just like
the former holder of an office, especially a college professor.
All right, I guess I thought that emeritus.
So, no,
I thought that emeritus meant.
Sorry, no, dummy. Sorry.
All right. Well, obviously, I'm not a professor. Tony, It's just Professor. You are a young and vital man.
If you like listening to two dumbasses every week, like currently employed Professor Tony Mathers, it's easy to support this show. You can sign up to be a patron at patreon.com/twoheadednerd.
Before we go, our weekly shout out goes to our listener, Tommy Trembath, whose podcast, Giant Size Violence, won not one, but 2 honors at the Iowa Podcast Awards late last month.
I voted.
The first was... I did too.
All right.
The first was for Best Production, Editing, Design, or Writing. But the second, get this, was for Episode of the Year. For the episode, It's Morphin' Time on losing your heroes and transforming yourself through Power Rangers.
That is awesome. That's awesome.
Podcast episode of the year.
Yeah, that's kick-ass.
Word to you, Tommy, and congratulations on your very, very well-deserved recognition.
Until next time, true believers, remember to pre-order your comics or your retailer. Mike just remind you that you've been hosting a podcast for 13 years and you've never won a goddamn thing for it. You don't make any money doing it either. This is the Two-Headed Nerd. Signing off.
I think we both know why we've never won that award.
I think it's probably this Dark Crystal bullshit. I think it's out there.
I was going to say it's because of you.
I think it's out there.